Good morning, everyone. Hope you're doing well. And I have today with me Patty Williams, who's the director of the 4th District Judge Court, Drug Court, right?
That's
That's a
correct.
mouthful to say.
It's a
So,
mouthful.
what is the official name? Tell us what it is.
It's the 4th Judicial District Recovery Court, and then we have the not-for-profit, which is the 4th Judicial Recovery Services Incorporated.
Yeah, so like I said, it's a mouthful.
Yes.
You've got that down really well. I met you at a charity dinner a few weeks ago, and I was so impressed with the program. And this is really close to my house. It's a couple of miles from my house, and I didn't even know it was there. So I'm very thankful to be introduced to what you're doing. And the program that you're doing is working extremely well. So I'm excited for my listeners to hear about this. So Patty, why don't you tell me a little bit about you first, and how your story, your background, and how you even got here into this program. So.
Okay. Well, it's kind of an unconventional path, I guess. I went to college actually as a business major. But I ran the 2 main women's dorm at the college that I was at out in Middle Tennessee.
Okay.
And kind of got into, it's not counseling per se, but you're kind of in that role where people come to you with their problems and you're advocating or helping to direct them. And I think maybe that was kind of my start for me. So I graduated with my business degree and worked for a few years in the medical profession, ran a doctor's office, and then went to work at Walter State, where I ran with the dean, worked for the dean of technologies. And so we started the camp for the police recruit camp and some of those kinds of things. And I met a lady who was instrumental at that time in getting the community corrections program enacted by state into the legislature. So I went then to work for community corrections, worked for a year as juvenile, and worked for 25 years in adults. So I've been working in the criminal justice system with addiction and stuff for 25 years. And that's where I first met Judge Sloan. Okay. He was fairly fresh out of law school. I went to work for the DA's office and was prosecuting drug cases. And so I met him there. And I've kind of always had a passion for people who were hurting and, needing direction. And so in 2009, Judge Sloan and some of the team members at that time that were formed got the drug court in our district created. And they asked me to come to work for them, and I did. And so that's where I've been since 2009. Now, we started off that I originally was the only employee, so we had really humble beginnings. But we've grown pretty fast. We've finally just hired our 3rd staff member, which I'm hopeful will help us in the coming years, to expand even more.
Yeah.
But
such a need for this.
Oh, absolutely. And, recovery courts have been around for a good while. They just, in our end of the state, they kind of lacking. But since I've been on in 2009, quite a few of the counties, have gotten recovery courts instituted and stuff. And I think a lot of the counties in Tennessee now have one. Our jurisdiction is one of the unique jurisdictions because we are multi-county. A lot of the other jurisdictions are just one county and they focus on just one area. But we have 4 counties, 4 very rural counties, which, can present some unique problems. So originally, Judge Sloan and Judge Hooper served as the drug court judges, and they split the counties. And Judge Hooper retired a couple of years ago, and Judge Carter Moore now handles the court that sits in Cott County. So our court meets weekly, but the participants only come twice a month because they're split up between the judges. They share those duties. So I'm somewhere in court all the time. My staff is each week, but the judges only sit like twice a month. And recovery court is a very unique specialty court in that it allows the judge to have a very close one-on-one connection with the people that are in the program. So, as opposed to where they come into regular criminal court, and you stand up there and they just give the facts of your case and you get sentenced, the judge calls each of the participants up one-on-one and spends time with them, getting to know them and what's going on in their life and what are they struggling with and how we can help get them redirected. And that type of atmosphere helps to create almost a family unity. Which for a lot of our participants, they are lacking. They've not had that.
Yes.
They begin to get bought into the program because they actually learn that people do really care about helping them to get better. And they're not just judged and punished all the time anymore. Now, we do punish. If there's, behaviors that need it, if they're not doing things, if they're testing positive, then they get sanctioned. And the sanction could be jail time, but there are other things that we use too. And then, of course, if they are clean and haven't used from one court period to the next, then they get a reward of some type. And it might be something as simple as drawing from the fishbowl and getting a candy bar, but they get the praise and the reward and acknowledgement from the court that, we know you're putting in effort and you're doing well. And I think all those things together help to create the environment that help people to want to do better and to help lose some of the guilt and shame that they have behind the addiction.
That sounds amazing. And so the cabin came into effect somewhere in here, right?
Yeah, we opened the cabin in 2014. Well, when we started the recovery court, it was Judge Sloan and I always had this vision, of having some healthy living for participants in our program. It became pretty evident early on that the situation for women was quite lacking. There was nothing really across the state in our area from, out that was available to help women who didn't have a good place to live and to recover. Most of them are accustomed to moving from one relationship to another, one guy to another, or an unhealthy home situation with parents who might be using. And there just was no safe place for them to go. So he and I, began our mission to find, a healthy place to make that happen. And Steve and Cammie Palmer had some property available there in White Pine, our beautiful home on 18 acres. And they, donated part of it and gave us a really good deal on the rest of it that we could afford. And that's when the cabin began in 2014. And our mission there is to serve women that need a safe place to heal, with priority given to women who are pregnant. Now, when we started in 2014, there weren't any places from our region, in the East region, where a woman could go and have her baby and keep her child with her. So, women who'd be in addiction, would have their baby and then they go into DCS custody. And then, you have issues again with the bonding. They're still not there. And they never really get an opportunity to learn how to make all those things work together in a healthy manner. So that's how then, and of course, Judge Sloan has a background, himself with children in NAS. And it was a passion of his. So, since we've been open, there have been 15 now, babies born drug-free to women who have lived at our cabin, which is, an amazing feat. The statistics for our region, if you look, since some of these programs have come along, our cabin has come along, and some programs that Judge Sloan has gotten started in, the jails and stuff on birth control and stuff, the LARC program, VLARC, the NAS numbers in our region have gone down.
Now, what is NAS?
Neonatal abstinence syndrome. It's and children, who you have babies who are exposed during pregnancy, and children who are born with the actual withdrawals, from the addiction of the mother.
I've witnessed that. It's awful.
It's heart-wrenching, and it's, and so vital to, what we do. But, folks don't understand that when you're in active addiction, that people just, it changes your brain chemistry, and you just really, they don't have a choice. I know for us who live normal lives, we don't understand how possibly you could do that. But when you get to understanding addiction and stuff, and you realize what rules them, and know that it's a point in their life that they really just don't have the choice to make the decision and the ability to make the decisions that they need to make. So, we have women at the cabin, and their stay usually averages 9 to 12 months. Mm-hmm. They can stay longer if they need to. And, we help them to learn how to live responsibly, how to budget, how to cook meals, how to keep house, how to help them with the struggles and learning to reintegrate with their children, reunite with those that might be in DCS custody, and even with those, that they've just born to them that they've just not been present for,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we're just really pleased with the progress that we have made there. And our setting is, very healing for a lot of people. It's rural.
Yeah.
So there's, we've the animals out there, the deer and the stuff. It's very peaceful. They can go out and meditate and, get in touch, with their higher power and work on developing their spirituality and those kinds of things, which are all part of the healing process. We've been accustomed to, over the years, just focusing on one certain aspect of recovery, and that's the removal of the drugs. But that's such a minor part of it. There's, has to be a holistic approach, and that's all the way around for it to work well. Yeah. And the community here in White Pine is very supportive of us. Mm-hmm. The churches assist us, with meals and celebrations, at the holidays, needs for the children, daycare for the children, at the Mom's Day Out program. And stuff. So we're really very blessed, to be where we're at in the community that we are, because it all works together.
Yeah, it does. It takes a village, as they say.
That's exactly what Judge Sloan says. It takes a village.
And I know we've done a little bit of this on our own, and it's really hard. So when you have a community like this, it's so much better when you've got more people involved and more support. And yeah.
Absolutely. We have a couple of dentists, Dr. Bryant, who has been amazing with us over the years. And then we have a group out in Knoxville, because dental problems are one of the major health issues, with our addicts. And, it's an expensive endeavor. And of course, they're not going to have insurance or access to that. So, we've had a couple of grants that have helped with that. And then, of course, a lot of donation from individuals, and then from, the dentist's office themselves to help restore, men and women to healthy.
And it can also be a source. I mean, this is one of the reasons I want to talk to you as well, because I work with a lot of dentists, and the opioid crisis, they've really cracked down on that in the dental offices now, telling the dentists, don't be prescribing this.
Absolutely.
And then I know when I worked in a dental office, we would get a lot of calls. Well, I need an extraction, and I need that pain med, and I need that one that's better than this one. And, and so it's really a tough spot, because, it does hurt. You have dental pain. It does hurt. And
it does. One of the things in that's important to know in addiction is that, their perception of pain is distorted. Their receptors are all firing off, neurons are firing off at levels, so what, a stump toe to us that might just cause us a little annoyance and irritation for a little while, to them feels like, they've just broken their whole foot. So, they don't have that concept. We encourage them to be in recovery a while before we let them do any dental work, but that's not always possible. But we do work with our dentists and our physicians we don't do pain medication. Sometimes if it's a really severe situation, we might do a couple of days of tramadol, and then, go back to the ibuprofen. But for the majority of times,
Mm-hmm.
Once they give it a chance, they realize that they can get through it, and it's not as horrible as they might originally perceive that it is.
Right.
So, but tramadol is another one of those things for a lot of individuals. I know it's a non-narcotic. However, the brain receives tramadol just as it does another opiate. So anytime you get out past 5 to 7 days of using anything like that in a row, you have really reawoken your desires and cravings for
Yeah.
use.
Yeah, I get that. I get that about sugar.
Yes. Yes.
So you were going to mention some stats, I think, about the babies, because I heard that at the meeting of the reduction in these babies that are born addicted. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you want to share some stats with us about what success
I
you guys have had?
I don't have any particular numbers with me, that I don't
Yeah.
I don't dwell on the numbers very well.
I wrote down something. $60 million dollars is spent treating drug addicted babies just in our state.
Oh yes, that was Jeremy Faison who presented those statistics
Yeah.
for us from the
Um,
legislature.
that was one
Yes.
thing I wrote down. So, yeah, I didn't write down a whole lot of stats, but there has been a reduction in that. And like you said, you've had 15 babies born not addicted. So that's a huge success. Now, you mentioned there are phases. Can you talk about the phases that they go through? Is that?
Yeah. In recovery court, we have 4 phases. Our typical program is a minimum of 18 months long. Most of the time, it takes individuals 20 to 22 months to complete our programming.
Yeah, not like the 3-month rehab, right?
Oh, right, absolutely. What we've learned over the years and many years that those 28, 30-day things are just Band-Aid approaches. All we're really doing is removing the drug at that point in time, but we're not actually getting to the core of what addiction is, and that's the behavior and how to do the behavior modification. And that takes time. It takes time for all of us, if we're just trying to establish a new routine,
Yeah.
you're not going to do that in a short period of time.
That's right.
So they have to learn how to rethink about things. So each phase of the program is structured to address a unique issue. And so like phase 1, it's our shortest phase, and it's basically a stabilization phase. And what we're seeking to do in that phase is just get them integrated into treatment, get them used to coming in and being accountable, and starting to look at things in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And then they move on to, where they're working on getting educated about the addiction and how different things relate to what they're doing, how they think about things, and how everything plays into each other in life, how it's all connected. And for a lot of them, they'll have a co-occurring disorder. So we're working on trying to get them then integrated into getting mental health help and stabilized on medication, because oftentimes they're self-medicating
Yeah.
for those things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the drugs, themselves reduce our serotonin levels. That's our feel good, as we call it. And so, they don't know how to achieve happiness if they're not using. So all these things take time, to happen. So as they progress through, the program, they're seeking to do different things. By the time they get to phase 4, they should have well established a good pattern routine for recovery. They should have people in their network, that they can turn to, a sponsor. They'll be working their steps. They should either be back in school or working, and taking more of the control themselves without us saying you need to do X, Y, Z. They know those things now, and they're putting them into place themselves. And we're, guiding and supporting them in that. And
so
then
what was I got 1 was stabilization, 2 was educated about their addiction. What was
yes, and 3 is just I forget the name we actually attached to it, but it's a transition out of, well, they're doing intensive outpatient when they first come into our program, so they're in class 3 times a week to learn about the addiction and stuff. And in 3, they're going a step further, we go into like moral recognition therapy, which is to help them to learn to start thinking about things differently, and
Yeah.
how I might have reacted this way and thought this way about something in the past, and how that has, fed into my addiction and my addictive behavior. And now
Yeah.
I need to look at it from a different perspective.
Right. Okay.
So, and things like, when I bump into somebody on the street and they don't speak to me, it may not be that they're just mad at me or have something against me. That person may not have noticed you. They may have something else on their mind, something else going on with them, and it wasn't an intentional slight on you.
Yeah.
So we get out of that real self-involvement role, and start thinking about.
That's good. I talk to people about this all the time. I'm like, they didn't make you mad. Something happened and you made a choice.
Yes. And, so they start learning to break things down and starting to look at them in a different way, and then just starting to put all the things into action itself and setting up. And then after they finish phase 4, they have 6 months of what we call aftercare. So they come in for once a week for a meeting, and they talk about how things are going with them, any new struggles that they're having.
Kind of a support group kind of thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
And just help monitor and guide them there, that they're staying on the track they need to be on.
That's awesome. Now this program, I mean, I know it's local for us, but it's been nationally recognized, right? Didn't I hear something about the Today Show or?
Yes, we actually did Judge Sloan did an interview with Megyn Kelly, and one of our former graduates was there. They selected from a group of women that had been at the cabin. They came down first and interviewed the ladies that were living at the cabin at that time, and learned about, our program and our setup and what we have. And then they did the interview with Judge Sloan on the Megyn Kelly show.
Nice.
And so that's out there. But we have made, our little town has made some big inroads into the state, and helping the state to become aware of, what the need is in other areas other than just the large metropolitan areas.
Yeah.
We have needs too. And the thing about it is, we operate on a much smaller shoestring budget and are accomplishing some of the same things that the bigger places are doing with a lot more money. But it's just helped to bring about the awareness of how we need to change our approach to treatment and the things that we need to offer people to help them get a good start. And of course, Judge Sloan, who, just recently was in Washington and was a recipient of the Rehnquist Award, which is one of the top awards for a lawyer that you can receive from the U.S. Supreme Court. And also, he goes all over the country and tries to educate folks on addiction and how we need to change our approach to things.
Yeah, so that's why you were in Washington, huh?
Yes.
So did you get a piece of that reward too? Because
well, I do have to say that I was honored by him in his speech for the work that we have done and done at the cabin and stuff. So
well,
he's a very humble person.
I started to interview him, and I thought, you know what, you've got boots on the ground, what's going on with those ladies every day. And this is kind of near and dear to my heart from some of the I did some volunteer work. Everybody gets involved at some level or another, and I really have a heart for it, and want to be a part of something bigger. It's just hard when you're one person doing this. So having like you said at the beginning, a village, a community, and the churches pulling together like that for the spiritual component is huge. Because
absolutely.
I listened to another video that you did with somebody, and I'm going to send that out in the links. But you were talking about a lot of these ladies have never been in a healthy family situation, and they don't know what that's like. They have no experience of that.
Absolutely. They'll come in, and some of the women have never washed their own clothes. They don't know what it means to get up and you have a routine for the day. and that, you try to plan your meals out for the week and do a budget and buy your grocery list. They're running to McDonald's or Burger King or something at every whip stitch. They're running the roads constantly because, they don't plan ahead for anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Making your bed, taking the trash out, that we don't leave open food out on the counters, just things that we take so for granted that we think are just basic life skills. They've not been taught that.
No.
Cooking.
I work. This is so true. You're validating this situation. We were helping a couple, and we walked in the house. There were flies everywhere because the food was just left out all over the tables. And I said, "How are you paying your bills?" Well, I just use a money order. They've never had a bank account.
Right.
I mean, basic things that we take for granted. And they've got 3 kids, and
absolutely. Or the fact that I can't pay a $60 cell phone bill, so I can have internet access whenever I want it for Facebook, when I have formula and diapers that I have to buy for my child, that it doesn't play out that way. So getting to recognize those kinds of things and getting in a routine and
then asking, do you have family support? Well, turns out her mother was running from the police, and her mother was actually pushing her to buy drugs. She was stealing money from her husband to go buy drugs from her mother. I mean,
absolutely.
The stories, but I mean,
yes.
You know better than I do, but I'm just letting you know how much I appreciate what you do.
Yeah, well, thank you. But the work that I do wouldn't be possible at all if I didn't have all the folks that I have behind me, and folks like you help us get the word out about what we're trying to do and where we're trying to go. It's just, again, back to that, we need the village. It takes all of us.
It really does.
The passion. It's not easy work for just anybody. You have to have a passion for it. I mean, and you got to wear a lot of different hats. And one of the good things about Judge Sloan and I is, where he falls short, I'm a little tougher, and where I fall short, he's a little tougher. So we balance each other quite well, and it really helps us to keep things in check. Plus, we have a team that sits, the drug court team, which is made up of someone from the DA's office, someone from the public defender's office, someone from the sheriff's department, someone from mental health, someone from probation, the judge, and the drug court staff. And we meet prior to court every week, and we discuss all the cases and what's going on with them, so that when we go in, judge has a good idea of what's been going on and how to address certain
That's a lot
issues.
of time you've invested with that. Yes,
it is, but it makes it helps it to work.
Yeah, for sure it does. So, I'm going to put the website out, and I'll put it in the YouTube description. But one thing I heard at the meeting was there's government funding here, but they're more likely to fund when there's community involvement.
Absolutely.
So I just want to encourage, you are a nonprofit, right?
Yes, correct.
This program is. And so that's always something interesting. And I like to promote that. And also just the results that you're getting. This is a different way of treating the whole situation, and it's more effective. I heard some of your guests, the ladies who've been through, speak and share their stories. It's very powerful.
Absolutely.
What this program has meant to them. And so I just want to do everything I can to get the word out, and hopefully people will continue to support, and it will grow and become the model that everyone uses, right?
I hope so. Well, thank you, Paula, for your help. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you for your time. I know you're busy, so I appreciate this very much.
Thank you.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.